Wisp Sports Radio, the voice of women in sport.
This is Season 1, Episode 9 of Hockey Talk on Wisp Sports. And at Wisp Sports, we believe women in sport deserve equal coverage. Hockey Talk is presented by Instat, a video product that our team, the Calgary Inferno, uses, as does every other team in the CWHL. I use Instat Video because it's the most helpful video tool that I've ever used. In today's episode, I'm going to talk about goaltending, mental toughness, and being resilient. My guest this week is Team USA starting goalie, Alex Rigsby. Today's sidebar is going to be about the importance of coaches breathing life, confidence, and courage into their athletes. And this week's drill of the week is a goaltending drill. The drill of the week will be posted on my Facebook page at Coach Shannon Miller on Thursday. Thank you for joining me. I'm honored to have my own podcast show on Wisp Sports and to be part of the most popular and influential podcast organization for women in sports globally. Today's podcast is titled, Mental Toughness and Goaltenders Make a Great Couple. When we rely on the male-oriented definition of toughness, which is predominantly physical, it's like looking through a straw. It's zeroing in on one aspect of toughness when there is so much more to it than that. Mental toughness is complex and has a lot of aspects to it. We're going to touch on some of those today. We need to go beyond the idea of physicality for toughness. Mental toughness is gender neutral. Resilience. Resilience means bouncing back when you encounter setbacks and failures. Confidence. Confidence means spotting and seizing an opportunity. Both of them important pieces of mental toughness. Based on research and my own experiences, women are more resilient than men, and men are more confident than women. Elite athletes require complete mental toughness, the big picture, all of the aspects, the confidence and the resilience. And as I've already stated, mental toughness is gender neutral. Coaches, we must breathe life into our athletes. We must breathe belief into our athletes when they may have doubt. We must breathe courage into our athletes when they may feel fear. We breathe life into their competitive lungs when they need to compete. We help provide them with the will to win. We help provide them with a boost to their spirit when they need it. And it's important that we anticipate what they need and give it to them. Every elite athlete needs that from us, the coaches. And goaltenders need it more than anybody else. Goaltenders are the biggest piece of the puzzle when you're putting together a team. They are the difference maker in close games, and they need us to be there for them the same way we need them to be there for us. The approach I take with my goaltenders is you want them to be calm, you want them to be confident, but you also have to train them to be resilient, to be relentless, to have that attitude of refusal to lose, and the attitude of, hey, when the puck goes in, what happened? Reflect, self-reflect. Then there should be a team reflection. We take responsibility, we learn from it, we move on, and that's how we all become the best that we can be. Coaches, we talk to our forwards and we say, go to the net like javelins. Go to the net like a train on the track. We talk to our defensemen, we say, play bumper car in front of the net. Keep it physical. Bump people out of the way. There's sticks flying, there's pucks flying, there's bodies flying. And who has to be calm and find the puck and make the save through all of that chaos in front of the net? It's our goaltenders. Few people can do it. It takes a special athlete and a special human being to be able to have that laser focus, that calm, that confidence, but also to be tough, resilient, relentless, and refusing to lose all at the same time. So I say mental toughness and goaltenders are a great couple. I think the best friend of a goaltender is their mental toughness. Growing up as a coach and being mentored by coaches, I always heard, hey, the defensemen are the goaltender's best friends. Well, I say now that I'm experienced and older as a coach, I say that mental toughness is the goaltender's best friend, but their second best friend are, yes, the defensemen. The defensemen are supposed to play bumper cars in front of the net. They're supposed to be the windmills that nothing can get through, and they protect their goalie, and they keep that puck out of that space. But eventually, a body does get through. Eventually, a puck does get through, and the goaltenders are the last line of defense. And they must, through all of that chaos and commotion, find the puck and make the save. Good goaltenders are good athletes. They have amazing laser focus. They're amazing athletes, and they make the biggest difference in a game. Today's sidebar, it's a quote that I've used for many, many years, and then I'm going to expand on it. And the quote is, "The legs feed the wolf." I've often, when I talk to coaches, have mentored and said, the legs feed the wolf, the legs feed the wolf. So when you're in a big game, it's at the end of the game and your athletes are tired or you're going into overtime. My athletes will tell you, I've often said the legs feed the wolf, the legs feed the wolf. Well, now I've grown as a coach and I still use that quote, but I also talk a lot to coaches and I use it every day myself when we're competing, is coaches breathe the life into the athletes. We breathe the confidence and the courage for them. We breathe spirit into them. So we need to look at ourselves as breathing the life into the athletes, breathing life into their lungs, breathing life and strength and energy into their legs, reaching in and touching their hearts to get the best out of them and let them know that we care about them and we know them and we know what they need and we're going to give them what they need. So we breathe confidence and courage into them. We need them and they need us. Today's guest is Alex Rigsby, starting goaltender for Team USA and fresh off winning the Four Nations Cup 2 weeks ago. Alex is also fresh off a pair of wins versus Les Montreal Canadiens here in Calgary this past weekend to gain the #1 ranking in the CWHL. Alex Rigsby, welcome. And let's start with, when did you start playing for Team USA? And how many Olympics and World Championships have you competed in?
Well, first off, I'm really excited to be on this today. And my journey with Team USA started really back when I was 16 years old. I made my first U18 team. And then I think I was 20 when I made my first Team USA national team. So I played on the Four Nations Cup, went to World Championships in 2013. Unfortunately, got cut from the 2014 Winter Olympics. And then since then, I've been on the team and I've played in one Winter Olympics in Pyeongchang. And then I've been a part of 4 gold medal World Championships.
Well, Alex, you know, a lot of people have been cut from teams and a lot of people have rebounded and come back and become the best that they can be. So that's interesting. I didn't know that you were cut or released in 2014. Talk to us about how that felt and then how you got back to being the best you could be.
Yeah, it was very challenging, you know, to be able to be cut like that. Had been a part of the team for the past year and felt like I was in a good position and went into tryouts with a really great tryout. And unfortunately, I didn't hear my name called when they read off the roster of the Olympic team. But, you know, it's the support that you have throughout hockey is absolutely incredible. You know, I had my family behind me, my teammates from Wisconsin, and even the Team USA teammates. They were very supportive of the whole thing. And I was able to finish off my senior season at Wisconsin that year, and we made a run for another national championship. So after my senior year, I really made the decision to, you know, figure out, is it time to kind of walk away from the game, or is it something that I want to keep, you know, working towards and having that dream that I've had since, you know, I was 5 years old to play in the Olympics someday and win a gold medal. So I'm really happy with my decision to continue to play hockey, and we're here 4 years later, still a part of the team, and, you know, really excited for what's to come with this team. And, you know, as a goaltender, you have kind of all sorts of positions to play. I've been cut, I've been the starting goalie, I've been the backup, I've been the third string goalie, and so I've fulfilled all those roles. And so for me, moving forward now, it's just kind of learning from all of those experiences and kind of setting my goals and what's to come for these next few years with this team.
Well, that's really an amazing story because so many of us need to hear from elite athletes like yourself. You've been there, you've sacrificed everything to be there, you've won Olympic golds, world championships, etc., and then all of a sudden you get cut. I mean, that's huge. That's not just a setback. That's something that you feel like possibly a failure at some point in your life, at that period in your life. It's devastating. I've been on the other side of it as a coach, having to cut players. It's a horrible situation for both the athlete and the coach. But to respond, to come back and become one of the best goaltenders in the world again, takes such resilience and such mental toughness. And talk a little bit about mentally how you felt, but how you overcame that to become the best again.
I think when you get to this level, so much of it becomes a mental game. I think that's what really separates you from the pack. And, I've learned so much over the years, and I feel like I just keep getting stronger and stronger mentally. And, there's been really challenging years for me. I mean, this past year was a challenge mentally. And for me, just kind of continuing to have confidence in myself and trust in my abilities is kind of the biggest thing. And, trusting my teammates and, continuing to strive to be the best and, kind of figure out what it is that I need to work on. And so much of it is the mental game. You go into each game with confidence and knowing that you're prepared and ready to play. I think that makes the biggest difference. So, just, when you get cut, it definitely takes a toll on you, or, you don't get that start. It's definitely devastating, and it really stings at that time, but it's kind of, like the resilience to come back and bounce back, and definitely leaning on support of others as well is really important. I think it's no fun to go through any of that stuff alone, and to be able to have a good support group.
Because we're really going to dive into that a little bit later in our interview. Right now, I want to talk to you about something that's kind of fun, and it's going to be a fun fact for our listeners. One of your best friends is Blair Turnbull, and Blair Turnbull plays for Team Canada. How did you get to know Blair, and how did she become one of your best friends?
Yeah, it's so fun. So she and I played at the University of Wisconsin together. I was a sophomore when she came in as a freshman, and it was just kind of one of those things where we kind of clicked right away, and just kind of had a lot of similarities, and we're both really driven as to what we wanted to do in our hockey careers and in our lives. And we became road roomies. So whenever we'd travel for a road series, we would stay together. So that was for 3 years. And then she made her first national team, I think, after the 2014 Winter Olympics. And so we've been kind of, battling against each other ever since. And it's fun to be able to, battle against her and see her succeed as much as she has, and to now again play with her on the Calgary Inferno. It's a lot of fun, and same thing with playing with other Team Canada teammates now that we're together on Calgary. So it's fun to get to know these other players and kind of see how driven they are and how dedicated they are to getting better. And it's funny how you can be teammates one day and the next day you're, enemies again and going to be battling it out on the ice for throughout these tournaments. So it's been a fun experience, and it's been pretty cool to get to know her.
Yeah, and that's wonderful. I'm one of those coaches and people that really want to help grow the game globally. You know that, and anyone that's ever played for me or coached with me knows that. And I have recruited athletes from many different national teams in different countries. And they all come together and they play together, and we learn so much from each other. And we all grow as human beings. We grow as athletes and coaches, and we help grow the game in doing so. And we do establish these lifelong friendships. But yes, when it's time to put the jersey on and go and compete, we all have the ability to do that. And that too is a part of mental toughness, and knowing when to have a perspective and to be a human being and a teammate and a friend, and knowing when to go to battle and be a warrior. And so I appreciate your view as well. I find it refreshing, and I think if more of us would take that perspective, we can really help grow the game globally. So Alex, being an elite athlete and world-class goaltender requires extreme work ethic. How do you maintain that level of compete and hard work over long periods of time?
It's definitely a grind, but that's what makes it so rewarding. Once you get to that level and have those successes, and be alongside this team. And I think what's so cool about being part of, Team USA and the Calgary Inferno is that everyone's there for, trying to reach a common goal. And so when you're away from the team and you're working on your own, you're having to be accountable for your actions. So it's making sure that you're going into the gym and you're eating properly and, you're taking care of yourself mentally and physically. And, it's like I said, it's just so rewarding when you do get to that level and continue to compete. And I think that's one of my biggest attributes that's gotten me to the next level is just my compete level is that, I'm always trying to get better and, you have to make a lot of sacrifices along the way. And it's something that, I've been doing since I was, in middle school and having to sacrifice going to, sleepovers or slumber, or school dances because you have games on the weekend. And, it's just something that you continue to sacrifice and as you go on. But it's just so rewarding to be able to work towards a goal with, other teammates and to reach those goals is really incredible as well.
Yes. So Alex, practices are very important. Creating good habits during practice, very important. All of that transfers over into your game playing and your performance. What are some of your personal goalie practice habits?
As you get older and you're not, for me, I haven't been a part of a team full time since I graduated from college. And that was the time when, you really start to understand the importance of practice habits. And, I always thought I had really great practice habits and always made sure I was stepping on the ice and working hard and knew what it was that I needed to work on that day for practice and making sure I was competing, making sure I was staying focused. But once you get out of college and you're not practicing, you're not on the ice 6 days a week, you really can't take any practices that you have for granted. You have to make your own schedule or find your ice time, and you have to make sure that every time you step on the ice that you're dialed in and ready to go. And so, it's been fun being able to practice with the Calgary Inferno this year and having all the players come to practice and ready to work. And so it's so important as a goalie to, be focused on every single rep. And even when you may not be getting shots, you're still working on things that it is that you need to work on and figuring out a way to make the drill valuable to you. Even if, like I said, you're not facing a ton of shots, you can still be working on your movement or, just staying focused. That's a big thing as a goaltender is just remaining focused throughout the game and throughout practice and, prepared for whatever it is that comes at you.
Well, and that leads right into the next question, Alex. Coaches typically prepare a practice plan designed for the team, which is typically the players, the skaters, not necessarily the goaltenders. I do pride myself I look at my practice plan and I look at it from a forward perspective, then a defense perspective, and then a goaltender perspective. Not every single time, but most often I do if I have the time to do that because I want to have a complete practice so it's good for everybody, all areas of the game. However, there are days and times when a coach's practice plan is really geared towards the skaters, the players, and not the goaltenders. How do you work on your own goaltending skills during a practice like that's geared towards the players?
It's just really making sure that you're ready for every single rep. So say, you're working on breakouts. Okay, well, I'm making sure that I'm setting up the puck behind the net, or I'm communicating with my teammates. And so I think taking kind of the approach where every single rep can be valuable is extremely important. And so, I kind of go into every practice knowing what it is that I want to work on, and then I evaluate it after practice. Like, hey, did I wanted to work on keeping my hands out today. Did I do a good job with that? And it's tough. You're not always going to get a ton of reps, and there are definitely player practices. And it's always funny. I always laugh when players are like, oh, that was like a really, pretty easy practice. It wasn't like too tiring. I'm like, well, we got pelted with shots. And then practices where they have a really hard time, it's like, well, we didn't really have to make too many saves. And so it's always kind of the opposite. When the players have it easy, the goalies have it tough. So it kind of, as long as it balances out like that, I don't I don't have any issues with practices that are, geared towards players one day and, geared towards goalies the next. And, but yeah, it's just making sure that you're focused on every rep and knowing that you can improve throughout those drills as well.
Well, and so much of it is about attitude, and you do have such a great attitude for that. And, just to share with people listening, I'm your coach on the Calgary Inferno. You flew in last week. We had a practice that we felt needed to be more geared towards the defensive style of play to get ready to play against Montreal. So a big chunk of that practice was surfing, we call it, pressuring, et cetera. And so the goalies didn't get a lot of shots, but I did skate up to you right after practice and said, hey, just so you know, I'm going to make sure you get a lot more shots in tomorrow's practice. And so I think that open dialogue is good. So a goalie doesn't go into the locker room and think, wow, Coach obviously doesn't care about me getting ready to play against Montreal. She knows I didn't get a lot of shots. She's going to take care of me tomorrow. And I think it's important that you have that relationship with your athletes, but also that coaches open dialogue and athletes speak up if they're not getting what they need. You've got the confidence to speak up if you need something. Wouldn't you say that's accurate?
Yeah, absolutely. And, I'm like, it was funny after that practice, I didn't think anything of it. And then you came up to me and said it. And, I was like, yeah, I was super excited for the next practice where I'm like, yeah, I'm going to get a lot of shots. Like, this is great. And, for me too, I'm like, okay, well, I've had 3 goalie lessons this week. I actually skated Monday through Sunday last week. I was able to get ice every day. So that was pretty awesome for me. And so it wasn't, crazy big deal for me on that Thursday. And then, I just definitely looked forward to it. And it is nice, like you said, to have that open dialogue and just making sure that, everyone's kind of on the same page and know that they're cared about. And it definitely makes a difference.
Yes. So Alex, mental toughness. So it's my view that goaltenders are the biggest part of the game. Okay. The biggest part of the game, the biggest difference makers. So how do you handle that pressure?
I love it. I think that's kind of what's drawn me to this position right away, is that you're kind of like the last line of defense. You have that pressure every single game. And it's a position that not many people understand. So I think that can make even that much more added pressure for a goaltender. People may be like, oh, well, you should have stopped. And it's like, all right, well, let's talk this through and really figure out kind of what happened. But yeah, I think it's definitely a position that can make or break a team. And, it's nice when you have that support from your teammates, from your coaches, knowing that they trust you, that they believe in you. I think that's a huge thing for any sort of goaltender, just because it is such a mental side. There's such a mental part to the position as well. So when you have that support from your team and confidence, it really goes a long way.
So as a goaltender, you're sitting there in net and there's absolute chaos in front of you. You've got forwards coming at you hard. Coaches like myself tell forwards, go to the net like you're a train on the track. Go to the net like you're a javelin. And that really helps the forwards understand their role and what you really want from them. It makes it a little bit more fun when you use analogies like that. We'll talk to defensemen and say, hey, it's like playing bumper cars in front of the net. Like, nobody gets through. It's like a windmill almost, right? Nobody can get through if you're good defenseman and you're doing a good job defending in front of the goalie. It's like the windmill. They can't get through, and if they do get through, they don't stay in there for long. They get thrown out or whipped out. The analogy I love the most is bumper cars in front of the net. I mean, that's literally what's going on in front of you. And it's chaos, but somehow you guys manage to stay focused, laser focused, be able to track the puck and find the puck and make the saves. So mental toughness is such an important part of being a goaltender and being an elite athlete. Most teams don't have sports psychologists working with them, either regularly or at all. So share with us what you do to work on your mental skills so that you can be the best you can be.
I do a lot of visualizing. I visualize myself in the crease from a perspective, first person perspective, second person perspective. So, I'm looking out, watching a player come down, making, passes and whatever, or I'm watching from like an overhead view. And we've learned a lot of that through having a mental skills coach and also things I've developed over the years that have figured out worked for me really well. So I think the biggest thing too is not to overdo it. As weird as that sounds, is that finding that balance, finding the balance between being super dialed in, finding joy in the game, being competitive but being relaxed. There's a lot of balances, and that's when I play my best, is when I'm super relaxed, dialed in, having fun. And so for, you talk about the chaos in front of the net, and for me, I'm just watching the puck. I'm knowing where my surroundings are, the players, the opponents. I'm not necessarily paying attention to where our team is on the ice. I'm counting numbers. I'm knowing where the threats are. I'm battling to see the puck, and I never mind a person, get in front of me and making me work to see the puck. It's part of the competitive side of it. So knowing that you're going to go into battle for the games, but also making sure that you're relaxed when you need to make the saves, because whenever you're tense, you're not going to be able to move as quickly. It's making sure that you find that right balance is really key.
One thing that must be really difficult for goaltenders is when you're doing everything you can possibly do, and then a goal is scored and there was nothing you could do about it. Either you didn't see it because you were screened, or it was a tip that you couldn't have got to, or what just happened to us a couple days ago, where it's a 2-on-1 and you have no choice but to come over and square to the puck, to the shooter, and they feed the puck back door and it's in the back of the net, and it was someone else's responsibility. How do you react in your own mind when things like that happen where you had no control over that? How do you respond and react?
The first thing I do is I reflect on the goal and figure out what it is that I could have done. I'm not the type of goalie to ever blame a teammate. I'll never be like, oh, they didn't play that right, or, should have had that person. It's more, what could I have done? Could I have communicated better on that? But I definitely like talking with the people after, just to be like, hey, what was your perspective on that? Like, what did you see? What could I have done? Just to try and learn from it. And when goals happen, like I said, I reflect on it, but at the same time, you need to let it go. It's not going to help you anymore, like thinking about that goal. And so you just have to worry about the next shot and be ready for the next shot and do whatever you can to make that save for your team. So, those situations are hard. And I was, like you described, the 2-on-1, had led in a 3-on-1, and you can ask Krista, our goalie coach, how I was responding after, and be like, all right, how was my movement? Should I have stepped out further? Should I have done this or that? And so we really kind of dissected it. And I think just being able to, reflect like that and be honest with yourself on, what you could have really done to make that save. So someone once told me that, there's never a goal that you couldn't have had. You could have always done something to make that save. So that's kind of how I have the approach. So it's no fun when you blame others, and as a goaltender, you never want to be blamed either. So just kind of learn from that as well.
Well, that's a great perspective, because I've always wondered, and it certainly isn't a matter of placing blame on anyone, because the game is going 60 miles an hour, and mistakes are going to be made and things are going to happen. I just always wondered as a goalie, if they maybe should have had it, what goes through their mind knowing that, okay, I probably should have had that and I'm going to be better next time, versus, maybe there was nothing I could have done on that. Not necessarily placing blame, but kind of like, oh, I'm just going to have to move on. It's out of my control. It's over. Let's go. And you can tell that you do have a strong attitude. You're strong mentally, and it's no surprise that you're a world-class goaltender with the attitude that you have. Now let's talk about something fun, Alex. Let's talk a fun fact that you wouldn't mind sharing about yourself or your family or your life.
A fun fact. Well, it's hard to share it off the top of my head. Well, I guess that I'm getting married next summer, so I've been planning a wedding, so that's really fun.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, that's a fun fact.
Yeah.
And then also moving to New York City next year. I don't know if that many people know it. My fiance, he accepted a job in New York City, so we're moving to the big city, which is going to be a little different than our Madison, Wisconsin living.
Yeah, well, that is a fun fact. That's exciting. Thank you for sharing that, and congratulations on your engagement.
Yeah, thank you.
Alex, thanks for being such a tremendous guest today on the show. I really appreciate it. And I know that everyone listening has learned a lot more about goaltending, and they're going to be better coaches because of it and be able to help their goaltenders. So thank you so much.
Great. Thank you so much.
Inside stories, interviews, and cutting-edge tips from the leading coach in ice hockey. Tune in to Hockey Talk with Shannon Miller. This is Wisp Sports.
To close, I'd like to remind you that goaltenders are the biggest piece of the game. They make the biggest difference. So pay close attention to them on a daily basis and make a big commitment to their overall development, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. Establish a strong bond with your goaltender. Be close and be there for each other. Support your goaltenders through the good times and the bad. Thanks for listening and enjoy the game. Follow and comment on social media. Twitter is @WispSports. My Twitter is @Miller12Shannon. My Facebook and Instagram is @Coach Shannon Miller. My website is CoachShannonMiller.com. You can find links in the show notes for this episode at wispsports.com and find more coverage of women's sport. Thanks for supporting women in sport everywhere.